Ben woke up to cold metal pressing against his back. The light above was weak and flickering. He was lying on the floor of a cell. The walls were dark and rough. There was a strange smell in the air, like something old and wild. Ben sat up slowly. His head spinning, he remembered the last thing he saw. He had been walking home on the edge of the city near the fields. There had been a flash in the sky. Everything after that was a blur. Now here he was alone on an alien ship. He tried to stand, but his legs felt weak. He leaned against the wall and listened. Outside his cell he heard voices speaking in a language he did not know. The voices were sharp and cold. He could hear metal doors slamming and the sound of heavy boots on the floor. Ben pressed his ear to the door. He tried to pick up anything he could understand, but it was all noise to him. Suddenly the door opened. 2 tall aliens in black armor stood there. Their skin was blue and rough, their eyes cold and yellow. One of them pushed Ben to the ground. The other threw something into the cell. It was a small plate with what looked like food, but it smelled sour and strange. Ben tried to ask where he was, but the aliens just laughed at him. One of them said something to the other, and they both looked at Ben, then at the far side of the cell. Ben followed their eyes and felt a chill run through his body. There was another cage at the back of the cell, hidden in the dark. A pair of golden eyes stared back at him from the shadows. The creature in the cage was huge, with thick black fur and sharp claws. It looked like nothing Ben had ever seen. It was almost as tall as a man, but much wider and stronger. Its nose twitched as it sniffed the air. The guards smirked and shut the door with a loud clang. Ben heard them laughing as they walked away. Ben sat frozen, looking at the beast in the dark. The only thing between them was a thin metal fence. He could see the creature's breath in the cold air. He wondered if it was hungry. He wondered if it would attack if it got out. The creature growled softly. Ben tried not to move. He waited, heart pounding, hoping the beast would not come closer. The hours passed slowly. Ben heard the sounds of the ship outside, alarms, shouts, the hum of engines. He tried to stay calm. He knew he needed to think. He was trapped, but he was not alone. The beast in the corner was watching him. Every time Ben looked up, he saw those golden eyes. At one point, Ben dared to move closer to the food plate. He slid it a little toward the fence, just in case the creature was hungry too. The beast did not move. It just watched him, waiting. Ben sat against the wall and tried to rest. He talked softly to himself, remembering his home, his family, and the life he missed. He wondered if anyone even knew he was gone. He tried to stay strong, but it was hard. He felt tired and afraid. Still, he watched the beast. He wondered if it felt the same way, alone and scared, far from home. Late at night, Ben heard the guards again. They came with more food, throwing it into the cell with loud laughs. One of them pointed at Ben and said something in their language. The other slapped the fence and made the beast snarl. Ben flinched. The guards seemed to enjoy it. After they left, Ben picked up some of the new food and placed it near the fence. He spoke softly, hoping the beast would not be angry. The creature sniffed the food and looked at Ben. It took a careful step closer, its claws scraping the floor. Ben stayed very still. The beast ate the food in quick bites and then backed away. For the first time, Ben saw something in its eyes that was not anger. He saw a kind of sadness, a look he understood. Ben tried to sleep. The floor was hard and the air was cold. He wrapped his arms around himself and closed his eyes. In the dark, he could hear the beast breathing, slow and deep. He listened and let the sound calm him. He knew that tomorrow might be worse, but for now he was alive. Morning came with another round of shouting and alarms. The guards did not come this time. Ben woke to find the beast watching him. He spoke again, softly, trying to show he was not a threat. The beast made a low sound but did not come closer. Ben reached for a piece of food and slid it through the fence. The beast sniffed, then ate. All day, Ben tried to learn about the cell. He checked the walls and the door. Everything was strong, metal, and locked tight. He found a broken piece of pipe in the corner and hid it behind his back. Maybe he could use it one day. He did not know how long he would be here. By the end of the day, Ben and the beast had shared all the food. The creature was still watching him, but now it seemed a little less angry. Ben wondered if the beast was also trapped by the aliens, just like him. He did not know what would happen tomorrow, but he knew one thing. He would do his best to survive, and maybe, just maybe, he could befriend the beast. Night fell again. The cell was quiet except for the sound of the beast's breath. Ben lay down and closed his eyes. He whispered a promise to himself. He would not give up, no matter what happened. As he drifted off to sleep, he felt the golden eyes watching over him, and he did not feel quite so alone. Ben woke up to the soft sound of claws scratching the metal floor. For a moment, he did not remember where he was. Then he saw the rough walls, the dim light, and the giant creature watching him from the other side of the fence. The beast's golden eyes looked curious, not angry. Ben sat up slowly and rubbed his eyes. His back hurt from sleeping on the hard floor, and his mouth was dry. He tried to smile at the beast, even though he was scared. "Good morning," he whispered. He knew the creature did not understand his words, but it seemed to know he was not trying to fight. Ben stood up and stretched his sore arms and legs. He checked his pocket, but there was nothing inside. He thought of his home, of soft beds and warm breakfasts, but now he was here with only the strange creature for company. There was no food in the cell. Ben felt hungry, and he guessed the beast must be hungry too. He wondered if the guards would come soon. He walked to the metal fence and looked at the beast's hurt paw. It was still swollen with a small cut. The fur around the cut was dirty and matted. Ben thought about what he could do to help. He took off a piece of cloth from his shirt and moved it through the bars. "Here," he said softly. The beast growled but did not attack. It watched as Ben put the cloth near the cut. The beast sniffed the cloth and then let Ben touch its paw. Ben tried to clean the cut and wrap it as gently as he could. The beast winced but did not bite. Ben felt braver. "There you go," he said, "all done." The beast licked its paw and then looked at Ben with what almost seemed like thanks. Soon the sound of boots echoed in the hallway. The guards were coming. Ben backed away from the fence. The two aliens stopped at the door and looked inside. They talked in their own language. One guard opened the door just enough to slide a plate of food onto the floor. The other kept a weapon pointed at Ben and the beast. They seemed surprised to see Ben still alive and unhurt. The food was a strange mix of bread and some gray meat. Ben picked up a small piece and held it out to the beast through the bars. The beast waited, then gently took the food from Ben's hand. It chewed slowly, keeping its eyes on Ben. Ben smiled, glad the creature was starting to trust him. He ate a little of the bread himself. It tasted dry and plain, but it was better than nothing. The guards watched for a while, talking and pointing at Ben and the beast. They seemed confused. Ben could tell they had expected something bad to happen, but nothing did. After a few minutes, the guards left, still talking quietly. Ben watched the door until he was sure they were gone. All day Ben tried to talk to the beast in a calm voice. He told the creature stories about his home, about green trees, and about his dog when he was a boy. He did not know if the beast understood, but it listened. Sometimes the beast made low sounds, almost like it was trying to talk back. Ben found this funny. He started to feel less afraid and more curious. He also tried to learn about the cell. He knocked on the walls to see if any part was weak. The walls were thick, but one part in the back sounded a little hollow. Ben wondered if maybe, with time, he could break through. He did not tell the beast yet. He wanted to be sure. The beast moved closer to the fence as the day went on. Ben could see the creature's face better now. Its fur was thick and dark, but its eyes were kind. The beast was strong, but Ben could see that it was also tired. He wondered how long the creature had been trapped here. Later, Ben heard a noise outside. A new group of guards came by. They looked in and laughed. One of them threw a stick at the beast, but the creature did not attack. Ben felt angry. He wanted to shout, but he stayed quiet. He did not want to give the guards a reason to hurt the beast or him. After the guards left, Ben sat by the fence. The beast sat close too. Ben reached out his hand and the beast touched it with its nose. Ben laughed. "You're not so scary," he said. The beast made a soft sound. Ben thought about giving it a name. He remembered how the creature moved, quietly in the shadows. "I think I'll call you Shadow," he said. Shadow seemed to like the name. It grunted and lay down by the fence. Ben felt a little hope. He and Shadow had started as strangers, even enemies, but now they were almost friends. Ben thought that maybe together they could find a way out that night. Ben saved a piece of bread and shared it with Shadow. He promised he would help Shadow if he could. "We'll get out of here," he said quietly. "We'll be free." Shadow listened, eyes shining in the dark. Ben felt safer knowing the beast was close. As he lay down to sleep, Ben thought about everything that had happened. He had been so scared at first, but now he was not alone. He had a friend, even if it was a strange one. He wondered what tomorrow would bring, but he was not as afraid. He whispered goodnight to Shadow, and for the first time since being captured, he slept without fear. Ben woke up to the sound of Shadow moving nearby. The beast was standing close to the fence, its golden eyes watching him carefully. Ben felt better than before. He had slept more deeply than he thought he could in such a strange place. He stretched and looked around the cell. The metal walls were cold, but the air felt a little warmer than before. He thought about what to do next. He wanted to help Shadow more, but he knew he needed to be careful. The guards were still outside, and they were dangerous. Ben decided to try to talk to Shadow more. He sat down near the fence and spoke softly. "Shadow, I want to help you. I think you are hurt. Can I clean your paw again?" Shadow looked at him and slowly lifted the injured paw. Ben reached through the bars and gently touched the wound. The beast did not pull away this time. Ben cleaned the cut carefully with some cloth he had torn from his shirt. Shadow watched him quietly. As he worked, Ben thought about how he could find a way to escape. The walls were strong, but maybe there was a weak spot. He checked the hollow part again and pushed it with his hand. It did not move, but it sounded different. Ben wondered if Shadow could help him. Suddenly the cell door opened. The guards came in, but this time they brought a new prisoner. It was a small alien creature, thin and quick. The new prisoner looked scared. The guards pushed it into the cell and locked the door behind them. Ben watched as the small alien tried to hide behind the beast. Shadow growled softly at the new prisoner, but Ben said, "It's okay, Shadow. We don't need to fight." The beast stopped growling and looked at Ben. The small alien looked at Ben with wide eyes. Ben smiled and said, "Don't be afraid. We are all stuck here." The small alien nodded slowly. The guards laughed and left the cell again. Ben looked at the small alien and said, "What is your name?" The alien whispered a strange name. "Lara." Ben tried to say it slowly. "Lara," he said. Lara nodded. For the rest of the day, Ben, Shadow, and Lara stayed quiet. Ben shared his food with Lara and gave some to Shadow. The three of them sat close together, sharing warmth and hope. Ben felt stronger with them there. At one point, Ben saw the guards outside watching the cell. They looked angry that the three prisoners were calm and quiet. Ben thought maybe the guards wanted a fight, but he hoped they would be patient. Ben spoke to Shadow again. "We need to trust each other. Maybe we can work together?" Shadow made a soft sound that Ben took as agreement. Lara looked at Ben with hope in her eyes. That night, Ben tried to think of a plan. The cell was strong, but maybe the small alien could slip through small spaces. Ben watched Lara carefully. She was thin and quick. He wondered if she could help find a way out. Ben and Shadow lay down to rest. Ben spoke softly to Shadow. "We will get out, I promise. We just need to be patient." Shadow looked at Ben and growled softly. It was a sound full of trust. The next morning, Ben woke early. He looked at Lara and said, "We need to be ready. When the guards come, maybe you can find a way to open the door." Lara nodded and whispered, "I will try." When the guards came, Lara quickly moved to the door. She slipped through the bars and tried to reach the lock. Ben and Shadow watched nervously. The guards shouted and tried to catch Lara, but she was too fast. She reached the lock and started to work on it. Ben held Shadow back, keeping the beast calm. The guards pulled their weapons, but before they could act, Lara clicked the lock open. The door swung wide. Shadow growled loud and jumped at the guards, pushing them back. Ben took a piece of metal from the floor and held it like a weapon. Together, they fought the guards. Ben used quick moves to avoid the weapons, while Shadow's strength was clear. The guards were surprised and scared. After a few moments, the guards ran away, shouting for help. Ben, Shadow, and Lara looked at each other. Breathless but free from the cell, Ben said, "We have to move fast. We need to find a way off this ship." Shadow growled softly and followed Ben. Lara ran ahead. Looking for an exit, the three of them moved through the ship's halls, careful and quiet. They found other cells with prisoners. Ben wanted to help, but he knew they had to get to safety. First, they reached a door that led to the ship's escape pods. Ben tried the controls, but they needed a code. Lara looked around and found a panel with buttons. She quickly pressed the right buttons and the door opened. Ben, Shadow, and Lara entered the escape pod. Ben pressed the launch button. The pod shook and moved away from the ship. They were free. Inside the pod, Ben looked at Shadow and smiled. "We did it. We're safe." Shadow growled softly and nudged Ben's hand. Lara looked out the window. At the stars, Ben felt hope for the first time in days. He knew they would face challenges, but together, they could survive. As the pod flew toward a new planet, Ben promised himself and his new friends that they would find a way to live free, no matter what. Ben woke up in the small escape pod. The stars outside shone brightly. The pod was quiet, but Ben could hear Shadow breathing next to him. Lara sat in the corner, watching the controls. They were far from the alien ship and safe for now. Ben looked at Shadow. The beast was calm and relaxed. It no longer seemed angry or scared. Ben smiled. They had come a long way. He felt proud of what they had done together. The pod began to slow down as it approached a new planet. Ben looked at the planet below. It was green with blue rivers and tall mountains. Ben felt hope. Maybe this place could be their new home. As the pod landed, Ben helped Shadow and Lara prepare to leave. The door opened slowly, and fresh air filled the small space. Ben stepped outside first. The ground was soft and warm. The sky was bright with the sun shining high. Ben looked around. There were trees and flowers he had never seen before. The air smelled fresh and clean. He breathed deeply and smiled. This place felt different from the cold, dark ship. Shadow followed Ben out of the pod. The beast's paws touched the soft ground, and it looked around carefully. Lara ran ahead, exploring the new place. Ben watched them both and felt happy. But he knew they could not stay in one place for long. They needed shelter and food. Ben took a deep breath and said, "We need to find help. Maybe there are people here who can protect us." The three walked into the forest. The trees were tall, and birds sang in the branches. Ben felt small in this new world, but he was not afraid. He looked at Shadow and Lara. They were his friends. Now, as they walked, Ben heard a sound. It was soft footsteps behind them. Ben turned quickly. A small group of aliens appeared. They were different from the ones on the ship. These aliens had soft skin and kind eyes. They wore simple clothes and smiled gently. One of the aliens stepped forward. She spoke slowly in a language Ben did not understand. But her tone was friendly. Ben raised his hand and said, "Hello?" The alien smiled and repeated, "Hello." Ben felt hope again. Maybe these aliens could help them. He pointed to Shadow and said, "My friend." The alien looked at Shadow and nodded. She made a sound that sounded like a laugh. Shadow growled softly but did not move. The aliens invited Ben and his friends to follow them. Ben agreed. He knew they needed help and protection. The group walked through the forest toward a small village. In the village, Ben saw houses made of wood and stone. There were gardens and animals. The aliens welcomed them warmly. Ben felt safe for the first time in a long time. The leader of the aliens, a woman named Myra, spoke to Ben through a translator device. She said, "You are safe here. We will help you." Ben thanked her with a smile. Days passed, and Ben, Shadow, and Lara settled in the village. Ben learned the new language slowly. Shadow became friendly with the other animals. Lara helped in the gardens. Ben thought about the aliens who had captured him. He felt anger, but also knew he needed to move on. He looked at Shadow and said, "We are free now. We will live here." One evening, Ben sat by a fire with Myra and the other villagers. They told stories of their planet and their people, then shared stories of Earth and his home. The villagers listened with interest. Ben felt a new hope. He was no longer just a prisoner or a fighter. He was part of a new community. He looked at Shadow and Lara, grateful for their friendship. As the night grew dark, Ben promised himself he would protect his new home and friends. He knew the future would be hard, but together they could face anything. Ben closed his eyes and whispered, "We are free." Shadow lay beside him, and Lara sat close. The stars shone above, and Ben felt peace for the first time in a long time. Ben woke early that morning. The village was quiet and still. The sun was just rising, painting the sky with soft orange and pink colors. Ben stood outside his small shelter, looking at Shadow and Lara as they moved around. Both of them seemed more relaxed now. They had found a new place to live. Ben knew they could not stay hidden forever. The aliens who captured him might come looking for him. He had to find a way to protect the village and his new friends. Ben thought about the strength of Shadow. The beast was powerful and fast. Together, they might stand a chance. Ben walked to Myra, the village leader. She was sitting by the fire, talking quietly with the other villagers. Ben told her about his worries. "They might come back," he said. "We need to be ready." Myra listened carefully. She nodded and said, "We will help. We have warriors who protect us. But we must be careful. We do not want to start a war," Ben agreed. He knew fighting was dangerous, but sometimes it was necessary. He thought about Shadow. The beast was not just strong, it was smart. Ben smiled. "Shadow will help," he said. The village began to prepare. The warriors taught Ben how to use their weapons. Ben learned quickly. He practiced every day, trying to be ready for what might come. Shadow also trained. The villagers saw the beast's strength and power. They began to respect Shadow, not fear it. Shadow protected the village like a true guardian. Lara helped too. She used her speed and small size to watch for signs of danger. She became the village's scout, always alert and ready to warn others. Days turned into weeks. Ben, Shadow, and Lara grew stronger and closer. The village became their home. Ben made friends and learned about the new world. One evening, a scout came running into the village. He was out of breath and scared. "They are coming," he said, "the aliens who took the human. They are coming with ships." The village prepared quickly. Ben and Shadow stood ready at the front. The warriors gathered their weapons. The villagers were nervous but brave. The alien ships arrived just before dawn. They were large and dark, filling the sky. Ben watched as the ships landed near the village. The aliens came out, armed and ready. They shouted orders in their harsh language. Ben saw the fear in the villagers' eyes. But Ben did not back down. He stood tall beside Shadow. The beast growled, warning the invaders. The battle began. Ben and the warriors fought fiercely. Shadow charged into the enemies, breaking their lines. Lara darted between soldiers, causing confusion. The villagers fought for their homes and their lives. Ben felt the power of friendship and courage. After a long fight, the invaders began to retreat. They were surprised by the strength and spirit of the small village. Ben called to Shadow and Lara. "We did it!" "We protected our home," the villagers cheered. They lifted Ben and Shadow as heroes. That night, the village celebrated. Ben sat by the fire, feeling tired but happy. He looked at Shadow and Lara. They were more than friends now, they were family. Ben knew the fight might come again, but he was ready. Together they were strong. Together they were free. ChatGPT said. Ben woke to a calm morning. The village was quiet after the battle. The sun rose slowly, casting soft light over the trees and houses. Ben looked around. The villagers were busy cleaning and fixing what was broken. Shadow stood near him, calm and watchful. Lara moved quickly, helping where she could. Ben felt proud but also tired. The fight had been hard, but they had won. The village was safe for now. Ben knew the peace might not last forever, but he was ready to protect. His home? Myra, the village leader, came to Ben. She smiled gently. "You and your friends have saved us," she said. "We are grateful." Ben nodded. "I did not do it alone. Shadow and Lara helped too. We are a team." Myra looked at Shadow with respect. "Your beast is strong and loyal." "We welcome you both," Ben smiled. For the first time, he felt truly accepted in this new world. He looked at Shadow and Lara. They had come so far together. Days passed and the village grew stronger. Ben helped teach the villagers new ways to defend themselves. Shadow trained with the warriors, becoming their protector. Lara continued to watch the forest, warning of any dangers. Ben thought about his life before being captured. He missed Earth sometimes, but now he had a new family and a new purpose. He was not just a prisoner or a fighter. He was a leader. One evening, Ben sat by the fire with Shadow and Lara. They looked at the stars and talked quietly. Ben said, "We have been through a lot, but together we are stronger than anything." Shadow growled softly in agreement. Lara smiled and nodded. Ben knew the future held many challenges, but he was no longer alone. With his friends by his side, he could face whatever came. As the night grew deep, Ben whispered, "We are free, and we will stay free." Shadow lay beside him, and Lara curled close. The stars shone bright above, and Ben felt peace in his heart. He was home.